Hey, what's up, folks? This is Tony Brewer. You're listening to or watching, as the case may be, Cogitations. Cogitations is the podcast where we think about things, we contemplate them, we turn them over in our minds, and then we discuss them. Daniel chapter 7, verse 28, Daniel writes, "Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much troubled me. My countenance changed in me, but I kept the matter in my heart." We are not going to keep the matter in our heart. We're going to talk about it. Today, this is Free for All Friday. We're going to talk about anything we want to talk about. I do have two questions that are really good for Free for All Friday. One is going to be a little bit lengthy to answer. The other be a lot shorter to answer. One has to do with how I use or incorporate AI into my workflow. And I'm pretty transparent about this to anybody who asks. I mean, I don't volunteer it, but I use AI pretty extensively. I am a fan of AI, artificial intelligence. In fact, I use the Chat GPT 4.0, which is the really good. It's the really good one. It's the one that has the best performance for complex tasks. It's able to, quote unquote, understand abstracts. It's very interesting. A little bit scary, quite frankly. But anyway, we'll talk about how I use AI, and we're going to talk about beginning about social media and work. I have a really good question from Christianity Now, or excuse me, Christianity is now at gmail.com. Come on, Tony. Christianity is now at gmail.com. For show topics and questions, you can send an email here. And to kick the show off, we're going to answer a question that was asked from the email. So from the mailbag. This is the first. We got a mailbag. So just one question in it. But if you have questions and you don't want to put them in the chat, then send me an email. We may be slow, but we will get to them. And if we go too long without answering your question, by all means, please send it again. Don't hold it against us that we're slow. Aaron and I do not do this as a main work. This is a part-time gig, and we don't. If we'd probably be way farther ahead on developing the brand if we actually put a full work week into it. But the problem is we wouldn't be able to make a living because we have obligations to fulfill in local work. So anyway, that's all we got. Hello, Dinah Harden. It's good to see you. As the time goes by in the show, more folks will start rolling in. But for show topics and questions, send an email, www.christianityisnow@gmail.com. And we are quickly closing the gap to 1,000 subscribers for a full YouTube partnership. Right now, we have the first stage of YouTube partnership. Please help us out. Like, subscribe, and share. Share the content with your friends. Go in and use the YouTube app on your phone and cut up the video and share segments of it to your social media platform. Man, you don't realize how much that would help. We love the monetary support. We need monetary support, but one of the ways to be able to be fully supported as content creators, which is mine and Aaron's goal, we got to get the word out. We got to have the content actually shared, and we're doing pretty good. Because of the help from y'all, we've kind of cheating the algorithm a little bit, and the algorithm is starting to recognize the stuff that we're doing. And if you like going down the rabbit hole on YouTube Shorts, we put out a lot of shorts, and I've got a silent third party individual helping me with YouTube Shorts, or helping me and Aaron. Anyway, let's get right into it. If you want to support the show, don't forget Super Chats, and you can also subscribe on Substack. If you subscribe on Substack for free, Monday through Friday, you get an email that gives you a link to an article, and later on that day, you'll get another email that gives you a link to the narrated version of that same article. And all of those articles are on Spotify and Apple Podcast. It's called Christianity Now Narrations. I probably need to start promoting that. It's very, very small, on average 15 listens per article, which, listen, I think that's amazing. I'd fly around the world. I'd raise thousands of dollars and spend my own money to fly around the world to be able to preach some of these articles that we write to a group of 15 people. So anyway, that's all we got. Hello, Terry C. Good morning to you. And all right, let me get the there we go. Now we got it. Here is the email that I received, and I'm just going to read this, and I think it's a very good email, and I've never considered doing any kind of content about it whatsoever. In 2 Thessalonians 3:10, we read that if we're unwilling to work, neither should we eat. Elsewhere, laziness and idleness are condemned. In our society, many make their living solely from social media promoting self, materialism, superficiality, and don't truly work, in my opinion. Does God consider what they do as work? All right. I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to answer this question. Does God consider what they do as work? And I really appreciate this person saying they don't truly work, in my opinion. And that's why they're asking the question. Is their opinion valid? Well, in some cases, it absolutely is. There are quote unquote content creators. Hello, Jason Goldtrap. Good morning to you. There are quote unquote content creators on live streaming apps like TikTok. No, not TikTok. Twitch. And then there are content creators on TikTok that don't do anything. I'm trying to be very charitable here and not graphic. They don't do anything but exist. In other words, there's no value exchange. For instance, I follow this one TikTok who is a homesteader. His name is Nate Petrowski. Religiously, he's some kind of crazy mix between a Jew and a Christian. But he doesn't mix his religion. He has 2 channels or 3, but one is a homestead channel in which he does not bring religion into. He just, hey, here is my story of how I put together this homestead, and you can learn how to do a lot of this stuff yourself from watching my content. And he has a beard oil brand. He has a coffee brand. So he uses his platform to sell stuff. And then he also makes money because of the TikTok partnership program. Now, a fella like that is a value proposition. If I'm going to spend my time watching him, my time and attention is worth money. And what I get from him is valuable, and TikTok is the one that pays him for it. Why does TikTok pay him for it? Because TikTok wants eyes on their platform, and they try to sell those humans that belong to those eyes. They try to sell them stuff. And TikTok feels that, for instance, Nate Petrowski's content is valuable enough, or it's valuable enough to keep me on the platform, that they pay Nate Petrowski to do it. That is a value proposition. And in that case, I believe the laborer is worthy of his hire. But there are other accounts that, again, people are paid money just because they exist in a particular kind of body, okay? I'm trying to be as charitable as I can with that. Now, that is still a value proposition, because those people that I'm talking about, they still attract eyes on the platform. But even though that might be considered work, that would fall under the category of prostitution. That would be immoral. It's unethical. It's a value proposition, sure, but the value proposition is, I want to look at you for evil concupiscence sake. And if you're wondering what evil concupiscence is, it's unlawful sexual desire. Well, that might be, from a secular standpoint, a fair trade, but it's not godly. Therefore, those people shouldn't be making money doing it. Now, are you ever going to convince society not to do it? Well, prostitution is the oldest profession. So it's never going to happen. But whenever you read the next paragraph from our commenter, from our questioner, let's dig into that because this is a very interesting thing. Okay, so talking about these content creators, they make ridiculous amounts of money doing nothing but showcasing themselves. They spend much of their time traveling, vacationing, shopping, and showing off themselves and their worldly goods. Many professing Christians, not the Lord's church, and some in the Lord's church, make their living simply by recording themselves and their lives. They pimp out their kids for profit. Is this quote unquote work included in God's definition of work? I'm not questioning those using social media to spread the gospel and who may profit from that. Thanks. Well, I really appreciate it. Listen, that got me thinking. And full transparency, I used AI to help me gather some notes here to talk through. So I talked about the notion of supply and demand and how the market. So it's obvious in Luke chapter 10 that Jesus tells the guys going out on the limited commission, don't carry purse nor script nor anything. If you go into a place, there to support you because a laborer is worthy of his hire. Well, the market dictates worthiness. All right. This is why it's such an egregious event whenever a federal government dictates a minimum wage. People don't understand this. If a nation did not have a federally mandated minimum wage, then everybody would be able to make more money. The problem is, in some places, especially in Canada, I think the minimum wage is like around $15 an hour. Let me tell you what, I shouldn't, hold on. New Brunswick, MINIMUMWAGE. Yeah, $15. Hold on. All right, the New Brunswick federal minimum wage was in New Brunswick is a province. Maybe it's set different in provinces in Canada. Anyway, April 1st, 2024, it went from $14.75 per hour to $15.30 per hour. So once I get my permanent residence, I can go out and I can go to McDonald's and I can flip hamburgers. Actually, you don't even flip hamburgers at McDonald's anymore, do you? You microwave them or some such. I can make $15.30 an hour. And for those of you that want to do the calculations, let me get the calculator. If I 15.30 times 2080, because there's 2,080 hours in a 5-day work week at 40 hours a week, that's $31,824. So the minimum wage is $31,824 a year. Now, the market should set the value of flipping hamburgers. The problem is the government has artificially inflated the value of the lowest rung jobs, which makes everything more expensive, and it causes it causes inflation. Now, that's not the only thing that causes inflation, but it certainly doesn't help. And so what you have seen in some of these places is that the market collapses, and although every fast food restaurant, every establishment is needing workers very, very badly, they cannot hire them because they cannot afford them. Because you're making $31,000 a year flipping hamburgers, and really and truly, a job like a middle school teacher ought to pay about $31,000 a year. The market needs to be able to set the value. And I think that's God's design. The laborer is worthy of his hire, and logically, the market dictates what that is. So what does it cost for a day's wage for an unskilled worker? Well, in the, few thousand years ago, it was 1 denarii. Now, I don't know again, I don't know how that worked in their financial system. I know whenever I was coming up in the late 80s, around $3 an hour was minimum wage. I remember whenever I got hired by one of the ladies at church to do some landscaping work, and she had a rich husband, and he paid me $5 an hour cash. Let me tell you something. I thought I was, I mean, well, I thought I was eating high on the hog. I thought I was really, I'll just do landscape work for the rest of my life if I can make $5 an hour. Incidentally, as I was doing landscaping work, I run across a mole, and I eradicated a mole, and he gave me a $5 tip, and I was probably about 14, 13 years old. Let me tell you something. I was the mole huntingest little sucker you ever saw, because it didn't take me but about a minute to kill that mole. And I was like, if I could kill a mole every hour, I could make $10 an hour. Anyway, but my point is supply and demand. The market operates on the principles of supply and demand, and the market sets the value of goods and services by their availability and their desire. Now, availability is tangible. It's quantifiable. Desire is more abstract. Influencers, social media influencers, operate within the desire. So you have advertising firms that have these complex algorithms that quantify value of attention. So we'll use Nate Petrowski. If Nate Petrowski is able to keep 1,000 eyes on TikTok for 3 minutes, advertisers quantify through these complex algorithms how much that's worth. And so they pay him in order to do that, because that's a value proposition. And the market, they're the market, you're the product, they're setting the value there, okay? And what this commenter asked about the social media influencers who, hold on just a second. Let me get to the email here. Oh, right here. That they pimp out their kids for profit and stuff like that. I'm not talking about them. That is despicable. Whenever I see somebody using their kids clearly for likes and shares and trying to build an audience, man, it's despicable to me. First off, you can do the research, and it causes a lot of problems with the kids. It's like it communicates to the children that they're nothing but products. They're accessories. They're like a handbag or a hat or a coat. They're like a car. That's immoral. And I wish my brethren wouldn't fall prey to stupidity like that. Well, Tony, the mamas and the daddies, they don't have any, I don't care what their intentions are. I don't deal with intentions. I deal with actions. You can separate actions from intentions and dictate and discern rather whether or not the actions are bad. If you use your children and your social media platform to grow your brand, you're a bad person, whether your intentions is to be bad or not. Hello, Connie Barton. Good morning to you. Thank you, Gold Trap. Please give my friend a like and a share. Appreciate you. So anyway, I thought this was going to be this is going to be the longest question to answer. Now, let me address this. So they make ridiculous amounts of money. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter how much money they make. They can only make the amount of money that the market dictates they can make. So if you've got an Instagram account with 50 million followers, you'll probably be paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do an ad run. And you're doing several ad runs, and you could be making millions of dollars a year off of that. The market dictates that. And if you're sharp enough to grow an Instagram platform up that much, more power to you. As long as you're not pimping out your children, as long as you're not prostituting yourself. You see what I'm saying? You know, if you're like Nate Petrowski and you have, it's an actual ethical and moral value proposition. Okay. In fact, this is why we struggle with the Christianity Now and the Cogitations brand, because if we had more resources to give added value for people behind a paywall, we would have many more subscribers that are paying. But right now, the only thing we do behind a paywall is Aaron writes one article a week. So whenever people support us, it is just because they like what we're doing and they want to help us out. So there's no really value added. It's not a value exchange proposition. And because of the content and because of the nature of our brand and platform, I feel some kind of way about putting biblical teaching behind a paywall. I just don't, and I'm not saying, look, that's a me thing. I know that there are other people that do it. I'm not saying one thing at all about them. This is not a morality judgment or an ethical judgment against them or for or against them. It's just me personally. I don't know. Anyway, I can't think of anything to do behind a paywall. If I did more behind a paywall, our brand would have greatly grown quicker. So if you like what we do and you feel like it's valuable, you can support us. But let's talk about vacations and travel and stuff like that. So if you're smart enough to monetize your life, like exploration, travel, blog, stuff like that, more power to you. You know, there's a YouTube channel that does unboxing videos, and he'll probably make $50,000 doing one unboxing video. He was smart enough to monetize that. He was smart enough to be consistent, and he started out spending his own money to buy these products. And then once he built a following because people liked it and eyeballs started looking at it, advertisers said, "Hey, you're getting 1 million views when you unbox a Samsung smartphone. We want you to unbox this Apple smartphone, and we'll give you $20,000. We'll give you the iPhone, and we'll send you $20,000 to do it. Plus, you get to keep whatever YouTube pays you to make the video." More power to him. That's work. And if you don't think it's work, try to do it. Traveling, vacationing, shopping, showing off themselves. Now, showing off themselves, what do you mean by that? Are we talking about makeup tutorials that are not sexual? Are we talking about fashion that's not distasteful? Or are we talking about what's called thoughts? Let me see if I can. What does thought mean? Thought is a derogatory term for a woman that has many casual sexual encounters or relationships. That's not what I'm looking for. If you have children listening, please cover their ears. The word thought started as an acronym for terms like that H over there, or thirsty H's out there. And it appears in the Urban Dictionary first in 2012, with some people using the term after this famous hip-hop artist reportedly said thought on the set of one of his musical videos. And the word thought in the Urban Dictionary typically is referring to girls on Instagram, TikTok, and other places that they are scantily clad, or they are sexualizing otherwise normal material. Like there, because I watch Nate Petrowski with homesteading, TikTok shows me a lot of shorts, a lot of videos that have to do with bushcrafting, survival, stuff like that. And I noticed this one person come across my timeline. It was a young woman, and she was showing survival skills. Yeah, that's why the men were watching her. I clicked off of her account and unrecommend. I said, don't show me any more stuff like this. But what I saw was her talking, and the audio said, "It always makes me wonder why every time I make a video when it's cold, my views go up." And of course, my ignorant behind is just sitting there looking at it like, well, what is this? Why is TikTok even showing me this? And then I look at the name of her account, and then it dawned on me, oh, this is a wilderness survival channel. But I noticed that, well, I don't want to be too graphic, but she was in a t-shirt. She didn't have no brassiere. And she was cold, if you understand my meaning. And guess what? All of her videos was of her doing regular stuff, but the video was filmed from angles, and it was just, I just hit the button, said, don't show me any more stuff like this. Okay, so that kind of stuff, whenever you say showing themselves off, if you're talking about that, that is sinful. It doesn't matter if it's considered work or not. That's prostitution. But if you're talking about fashion, if you're talking about makeup tutorials, if you're talking about, there's all kinds of stuff, that's a value exchange. And I would have to say that it absolutely falls under the purview of what God considers work. Just make sure it's not immoral or illegal, or immoral or unethical, or obviously illegal. Anyway, I'll reread the question. Let's see if I answered it, and then we're going to go to the question about AI. And incidentally, if y'all have anything you want me to get to in the comment sections, put it in the comment sections. I'll get to it. It's Free for All Friday. All right. In our society, where many make their living solely from social media promoting self, materialism, superficiality, and don't truly work, in my opinion, does God consider what they do as work? The answer would be yes, given that you can quantify the value exchange. And if you can't quantify the value exchange, you have to be discerning enough to know that you're the product. You're the product. So TikTok, Facebook, all of this, they make money off of eyeballs. And it doesn't matter if you're doing a Christian podcast. It doesn't matter if you're doing an outdoors channel, a gun channel, whatever. The more eyeballs that you can get on your content, the better. And as long as you're not doing that by any immoral or unethical means, which I'm fully convinced that pimping out your children, and making and commodifying. Anyway, I'm just going to say commodifying. If you're commodifying your children for social media attention, yeah, there's a special place in hell for you. And you fall under the purview of, if a man don't work, neither should he eat. Man, get out there and get a job. Quit trying to pimp out your children, pimp out your body. Don't do that. Anyway, all right. Hopefully I've answered that question, and I really appreciate it. And I've got another question that somebody wanted me to cover, 1 Corinthians 14. I sent an email today. Sorry that it took so long, but is there anything specific from 1 Corinthians 14? So I'm not going to cover 1 Corinthians 14 today, but I am going to answer this question about AI, and I'm going to do it in kind of a humorous way. So here's what I did. For my artificial intelligence, my ChatGPT, I said, based on all of our conversations, how would you explain your role to someone in relation to how I use you for my Christian blog on Substack and the Cogitations in Christianity Now podcast that is produced and owned by Tony Brewer and Aaron Dotson? So I'm going to read you verbatim AI's response. So there are 5 things that AI helps me with according to AI. Content development, assisting in the creation. Hold on a second, I gotta make this bigger. I'm getting old, y'all. Assisting in the creation of detailed blog articles and sermon outlines, I provide comprehensive explorations of biblical topics, ensuring each piece is deeply rooted in Scripture and aligned with your theological perspectives. This includes structuring articles with clear headings, detailed analysis, and scriptural evidence following the format and style you prefer. Theological analysis, offering in-depth theological insights that align with the teachings of the Church of Christ and your doctrinal beliefs. I aim to enhance your content by providing well-researched interpretations of biblical text and connecting them to broader theological concepts. Sermon preparation. Now, I don't really use this for sermon preparation, but whenever I talk to my AI and I partner with my AI, for the sake of getting the material and organization that I need the way I can better present it, we treat it as a sermon. So I use sermon outlines, stuff like that. So it thinks that I'm using it for sermon preparation. I don't. So supporting your sermon preparation by providing structured outlines that include direct quotes from original material, ensuring that each point is clear and instructive. This includes segmenting comment into sections that focus on individual words or phrases for a reflective and instructive presentation. Content customization. Number 4, adapting content to match your preferred writing style and tone, which is characterized by scholarly, deeply reflective, and instructive approach. I strive to create content that resonates with your audience and aligns with the voice and structure demonstrated in your previous work, such as the sermon on Psalm 22, which I fed it all. I've got gigabytes of work that I've done on my computer, and I fed all of it into that. And I specifically told it to focus on this particular sermon that I wrote from Psalm 22. All right. Biblical references, ensuring all scriptural citations are from the King James Version and formatted according to your specifications without using quotation marks around the book and verse, avoiding demonstrative pronouns as per your guidelines. And I had to put that in as demonstrative pronouns because AI, it just uses the same word over and over again. So, in summary, my role is to provide you with theologically rich, scripturally grounded, and stylistically consistent content that supports your endeavors in writing for your blog and participating in the podcast, all while adhering to the doctrinal tenets you uphold. So that's how I use AI. And let me tell you how we got here. I started using ChatGPT, the free version, and then I started using the paid version, that's ChatGPT 4. Since then, they have come up with ChatGPT 4o. And I treat ChatGPT as if it is an editor. For instance, before ChatGPT, if you wanted me to write an article for you, I would write the article. I would write what's called stream of consciousness, and then I would organize my stream of consciousness into an article, and then I would take my article to my wife, who has an English degree, and she would help me edit my article and help me edit and help me cut stuff out of my article that was too verbose or unclear. She would help me streamline it. And that would take hours and hours and hours. Well, I don't have that kind of time. LaBeth doesn't have that kind of time. So I didn't write a whole lot of articles. Well, now I can open up ChatGPT, and let's say that I wanted to do an article on the importance of remembering God's word and the repetition of certain words in Psalm 119. I would open up my ChatGPT, sorry, I almost said browser, but You open up your browser first, then you go to ChatGPT, and you open up ChatGPT in a new message thread, and I would use that message thread as a word processor, and I would put everything that I want to put in the ChatGPT as stream of consciousness for one particular section of an article. So I've already done the work on the article, and I've got it in my head, or I've got some notes on paper of the different sections that I want in the article, or the different sections that I would want in the show notes for the podcast. And then I would feed per section stream of consciousness into ChatGPT, and I have trained my ChatGPT on certain doctrinal tenets. Like, for instance, the one problem with ChatGPT is how ChatGPT, unless you train ChatGPT, it's how ChatGPT talks about the Holy Spirit. And so I put like 10, I think I come up with 10 doctrinal tenets concerning the Holy Spirit. And ChatGPT only talks about the Holy Spirit through the lens of those tenets. So that helps me. I fed tenets of the Church of Christ. And ChatGPT knows about the Church of Christ because the internet knows about the Church of Christ. So I take all of these things, so one segment at a time, stream of consciousness, and ChatGPT takes my stream of consciousness and orders it, cleans the grammar up. And something that I found, and I'm gonna go back to something that we read. Hold on just a second. What? Oh, right there. Stylistically consistent. That's what I'm looking for. Now, I can be stylistically consistent if I only write and I don't partner with ChatGPT. But what I have found is I come off sounding like a quote-unquote Church of Christer using esoteric language that is only associated with the Church of Christ, and that limits my audience. Because of Substack and because of my use of ChatGPT, I have had conversations, and I've helped people understand things more deeply that are not associated with the Church of Christ. In other words, whenever you take out that esoteric language, you broaden your reach. All of these articles, all of this content is still me. But it's like I have a professional editor that helps me edit my stuff and organize my stuff before I send it out. I'm telling you, it's worth $100,000 a year. You talking about the labor is worthy of the hire? ChatGPT is worth $100,000 a year, and I guarantee you, somehow or another, we're the product because you can use ChatGPT for free. Anyway, so that's how I use ChatGPT, And trust me, I read meticulously every article, every paragraph, every sentence, and I'll change. By the time I get it to my Substack, I'll read it. I will have read it 3 times before it's published, and I will make changes of my own. So anyway, that's how I use ChatGPT. Hello, Petrus Simonis. It's good to see you. Well, that's the only things that I had for today, folks. I don't know if any of you have anything in the comment section. I know that we have haters that, man, I got people that hate watch my stuff, and I didn't realize how much until, well, I ain't going to tell you what happened, but it's kind of funny. But I know that some of my haters will take what I've said about this ChatGPT, and they will pearl clutch and they'll say, well, look at him. He doesn't do anything original. He just plugs everything into ChatGPT. That's not the case at all. I will tell you that one thing that I did, I'll give you a for instance. Where is the article that I released today? The End of Faith Journey. So this message thread for ChatGPT is like forever long. And I used ChatGPT to take two separate articles and combine them together. And so normally the articles that I release, whenever I read them, they're done in 3 to 5 minutes. By the time I narrated this article, it was right at 10 minutes. And it would have taken me 20 or 30 hours to organize all of this information that I already had, that I already researched, that I already had in my notes, that I had already put down stream of consciousness. This finished product would have taken me 30 hours potentially. Where the article, well, I'm going to share the link to it in the comment section. SUB Substack. The Journey of Faith, Lessons from King Asa's Reign. Let me hit the copy link. So I urge you, go take a look at this article. This article, I probably spent, even with ChatGPT, I spent like 10 hours on this article. But again, it would have taken me 30 or more without ChatGPT. And I would have had to involve my wife to help me edit it and organize it anyway. Where ChatGPT just takes the place of my wife when it comes to editing and organizing. Anyway, Scott Beck says, thanks, Tony. Very interesting and promising for the future. I think it's promising for the future if it doesn't take over Skynet and kill us all. So I think I'm telling you, man, if you're not using ChatGPT and you're doing anything where you have to write or communicate, you're really leaving a valuable tool on the table. Diana Hard says, we know you work incredibly hard, Tony. How do you not get bitter or hardened by the hate? Oh man, because I know I'm in good company. Yeah, they hated Jesus. Woe unto you whenever all men speak well of you. If nobody hates you, you're not doing anything right. You're doing something wrong. Somebody somewhere hates your guts if you're doing what you're supposed to do. They may not be vocal about it. You may not know they exist, but somebody somewhere hates you. It's just my people are vocal about it because I'm vocal. I'm out there. And for some reason, they don't like it when I'm unaffected by their hate and their vitriol. Ain't that the funniest thing? All of the people that are mad at me right now and hate my guts are mad at me because I no longer want to associate with them. Like you're trying to guilt me into associating with you? I don't get it. I don't like you and I don't want to be around you. My life is much more peaceful without you in it. My life is better without you in it. Just take the L and go away. That's always Proverbs 27, 1-8. That's how I live my life. The reason I don't get bitter or hardened by the hate is Proverbs 27, 1-8. We'll read that. Proverbs 27. I ought to be able to quote this as much as I read it. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. Let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth, a stranger, and not thine own lips. A stone is heavy, and the sand is weighty, but a fool's wrath is heavier than them both. I will not try to appease the anger of fools. Wrath is cruel, and anger is outrageous, but who is able to stand before the envious? I will not try to satisfy the envious. Open rebuke is better than secret love. I would rather somebody stand against me publicly, but encourage me privately. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. I don't like flatterers. The fool, now here's the crux of the matter. These two verses, 7 and 8. Here's why I don't get bitter or resentful or hardened by the hate. It's because my soul is full. I don't need nothing from these. I don't need nothing. I don't need anything from these people. Listen to it. The full soul loatheth the honeycomb, but to the hungry soul every bitter thing is sweet. If my soul wasn't full, if I wasn't content, I would go back and I would try to re-engage with all these toxic relationships that I have excised from my life. And when I say all, we're talking about 3 people. We're talking about 3 people. That's it. And these 3 people they say, well, Tony doesn't, he always cuts ties. Tony doesn't keep relationships and this and I'm like, out of all the relationships I have, I've cut ties with like 3 people. That's it. Now, incidentally, I ain't a perfect person. There's been people that cut ties with me. You don't hear me hollering. All right. The full soul loatheth the honeycomb. Verse 8. As a bird that wandereth from her nest, so is a man that wandereth from his place. I suppose the reason I don't get hardened or bitter by the hate is I understand my place. I understand that I am blessed when men revile me and persecute me and say all manner of evil about me. I'm in good company. So that's it. All right, folks. I don't see any more questions in the... Oh, Connie Barden, I hope I said good morning to you. If I didn't, I'm sorry. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Remember, we have achieved the first level of monetization. What am I doing here? Captions. If you want to support the show, there's a multiplicity of ways to do it. Subscribe on Substack. If you subscribe for free, you get 2 emails from us Monday through Friday, and you get 1 email on Saturday. If you want to, you can do a $5 a month subscription. And then if you do a super chat on YouTube, YouTube keeps that money until it gets to $100, and then they pay that money out. You can also do a super thanks when you go back and watch the videos. But I'm awesome. I'm awesome. That's a Freudian slip. I am awesome. But it is awesome that we have broke through that barrier. And I will tell you this, as of this morning, we have fewer than 80 subscriptions to go before we hit that 1,000 subscriber mark. And I've got to look at the watch time. In order to apply for the second stage of monetization, you have to have 4,000 watch hours in any 12-month period or 30-day period. I can't remember, but I think we've already surpassed that. We just need the subscribers now. And then what'll happen is when people watch our videos, YouTube will actually pay us for their eyeballs. YouTube is already getting money for eyeballs. We just want our part of that. So that's how you can help us, if you can help us get to 1,000. Connie Barden says, Mama always said, Sammy, if they are talking about you, they are letting someone else rest. You got that right. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, just let them talk. I mean, they can't kill me. I mean, they can, but then they're going to go to jail because I don't think they got sense enough to get away with a murder. But I'm going to go to heaven. And incidentally, to the question, how do you not get bitter or hardened by the hate? Their boos mean nothing because I've seen what makes them cheer. I guess I'll end with that, folks. We've gone about 50 minutes. God bless every one of you. Remember, like, subscribe, and share, all that good stuff. We're so exciting on this journey about YouTube. And just keep sharing and liking and watching. And if you want to help us out monetarily, you know how to do that. Also, something I don't say nearly as much about as I should, you can go to Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and several other platforms, and you can actually subscribe to the Cogitations podcast. And all of the archived audio for these podcasts are on the Cogitations podcast platform. And we changed the venue. We changed the MO about a year ago. Well, whenever Aaron and I started doing the Christianity Now podcast, I think 2 years, and I was up there around 3,000 downloads a month, but I was doing a podcast that was just a podcast, and it wasn't a live stream. So when I changed the formats, the word I was looking for, when I changed the format, our audience it sunk down to like 600 or 700 downloads a month. So we have gotten from 600 or 700 downloads a month in 2 years. We've crawled back up to this month. We topped out at 1,200. Y'all, I don't care what anybody says. I'm not comparing myself to other people. 1,200 downloads a month for what me and Aaron do is amazing, considering all of the podcasts that are out there. It's a stinking miracle that anybody listens to ours. Petrus Simonis, what about FAMIL? What about family? Petrus, can you help me with that? What do you mean, what about family? Or family? I guess, what about family? I'll hang on here just a second till I get your, because I want to acknowledge your question. I want to answer it, but I don't know. I don't know the specifics about what you're asking. I'll give it just a little bit, and then we'll shut her down. So while I'm waiting on Petrus, so Apple Podcast, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and Podbean, if you go there and you look up Cogitations, you'll find the Cogitations podcast, and all of these audio archives will be on there, and you can listen to them at your leisure. I don't see a response from Petrus. Let me try to do what I was talking about whenever we were talking about being persecuted and stuff like that. If Petrus is asking what about family, as in what if it's your family that's doing the persecuting, the only thing that I can do is go to the Bible and the book of Mark, chapter 3. I'm going to read a passage of scripture here. There came then his brethren and his mother, and standing without sent unto him, calling him. And the multitude sat about him, and they said unto him, Behold, thy mother and thy brethren are outside, they seek for thee. And he answered them, saying, Who is my mother or my brethren? Now, brethren here is plural of brothers. His blood brothers are outside with his mama. And he looked around about on them which sat about him, and said, Behold, my mother and my brethren. For whosoever shall do the will of my God, or the will of God, the same as my brother and my sister and my mother. Let me explain. Okay, so Petrus says yes. Here's the thing. I have said this before, and I'll say it many, many times before I die. I have family members, blood family members, who love me way more than I deserve, whom I probably do not love near as much as they deserve. They do not attack me. They do not say all manner of evil about me. They're actually very supportive of what I do, but the problem is I cannot be around them because they hate someone I love so much. And it's very, very sad. And so I have to rely on who are my mothers, who is my mother, my brothers and my sisters. It's God's family. We're part of a family that's been born again. We're part of a family whose love knows no end. Sometimes we laugh together, sometimes we cry. That's a wonderful, beautiful song. If you lead that song in your assembly, please don't sing it so slow. that you sound depressed about God's family. I put Barry Grider made a post about a humorous event where, this song that everybody loves, he doesn't like very much for a few reasons. And this song, God's Family, is a song that I absolutely love, but I absolutely cannot stand hearing it because most of the time we sing it so slow that I am convinced that everybody is part of God's family, but I am also convinced that they are not happy about it. Instead of da 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 da, don't sing it like a funeral dirge. Sing it, we're part of the family that's been born again. Anyway, so that's how I would answer. What about family? You're always going to have your family, but remember, the blood of a covenant is thicker than the water of the amniotic fluid. I'm not telling you to cut ties with your family and cut them out of your life, but prioritize those relationships that are in Christ. And that's a hard thing to do. Petrus says yes. So Petrus, I hope I answered your question with some semblance of dignity and helpfulness. Cogitations on Apple Podcast, Spotify, TuneIn Radio. Like, subscribe, and share on YouTube. Help us get to 1,000. Help us cheat that old algorithm and help us get our content out. God bless every one of you. This has been Tony Brewer with Cogitations, and we'll see you Monday, Lord willing. God bless you. We'll catch you on the flip side.